Strategies for inclusion and differentiation for MID students. Here are some overall strategies which you should use to appropriately include MID students in your classroom. The first thing that a teacher must do when he or she has a student with a MID in the classroom is do an OSR search. That's the Ontario Student Record Search. Here, the teacher will be able to see the student's report cards from the past, as well as any other assessments from the past, which could be language, speech, physical, and management reports. Then, the teacher should talk to the resource teacher in order to see if he or she knows more about the student and what is filed on his OSR. Evidently, the resource teacher will know more about the student with the MID than the homeroom teacher, as he or she might have worked with this student in the past and or might work with him in other classes. Moreover, resource teachers are trained to work with students with exceptionalities, so as the homeroom teacher, it is in your own benefit to work collaboratively with the resource teacher to find the appropriate strategies to address your teaching to the student's learning depending on his or her particular strengths and needs. With the cooperation of the two teachers, there can be a thorough discussion about the student's IEP, that's the Individual Education Plan, and the accommodations and modifications which can directly be connected to the student's strategies and instructions in the classroom. Thus, the student's expectations will be directly related to that of his IEP, and the establishment of the strategies and accommodations can be assertive. The homeroom teacher must constantly observe the student and note down how he or she is responding to the strategies implemented to include him or her. These observations should be recorded so that they are not forgotten and later discussed with the resource teacher. These observations might lead to slight changes in the future in terms of the accommodations given to the student. Another factor to keep in mind before going into the specific strategies which can be used with students with MIDs is that all students are unique. So you may use many of the examples and the strategies listed below, but they will vary from student to student. Here are the overall strategies which you might pick from. Give extra time to express language for work and for assessments. Provide alternative assessment depending on the student. Provide visuals for anything the teacher says. Use visual organizers. Use checklines to chunk instructions step by step. Piece by piece information is very useful. If they are identified, they must have some sort of academic assessment. Based on the academic and psychological assessment, the teacher will modify the program using the student's strengths, upholding his or her learning. Keep in mind the modified curriculum that has been set in place. Have a visual schedule or checklist for the student. It can list things such as the morning routine, A. Take off your jacket, B. Take out your agenda and notebook, C. Wait for your teacher. All of these may have pictures. Chunk information in terms of instruction. Use words such as first, then, finally, etc. Some MIDs may need functional skills program. As a teacher, you might want to prepare the student for an after-school vocation. Thus, in math class, you might give an alternate activity such as counting money, etc. In English class, instead of reading and doing a test on Shakespeare, you might have the student tell the story of Shakespeare in his or her own words. Address social and emotional expectations. These are expectations that are most important so that the student functions well in society. Use smart boards. Use computer technology such as Kidspiration in elementary schools and Inspiration in secondary schools. There are also other programs with MindWebs or WordQ, which is a word processor. Depending on the first letters that the students write, it predicts the very possible words. Address life skills in general. High school students with Down syndrome, though not all students with MIDs have Down syndrome, could count newsletters for each classroom and perhaps do photocopying if interested. Use simple, short, and complicated sentences to ensure maximum understanding. Repeat instructions or directions frequently and ask the student if further clarification is needed. Keep distractions and transitions to a minimum. Teach specific skills whenever necessary. Provide an encouraging, supportive learning environment that will capitalize on student success and self-esteem. Help the MID student develop appropriate social skills to support friend and peer relationships. Teach organization skills. Use behavior contracts and reinforce positive behaviors if necessary. Ensure that the routines and rules are consistent. Keep conversations as normal as possible to maximize inclusion with peers. Modify lesson plans by giving the MID student more concrete assignments on a related topic. Allow for a reference sheet to be used for tests. Use preferential seating so that the student is close to the teacher. Reduce visual and auditory distractions. Be patient.